Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm really excited here today to be joined by my guest, Alon Orbach, who is a specialist in vacation rentals real estate. So Alon is the head of an investment group with $150 million portfolio in real estate and manage over 500 properties. So Alon is going to be sharing with us his experience in managing vacation rentals and as a real estate investor in that space as well. So, Alon, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you join us today.
Likewise, Kobe, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Alon, why don't you share with us a little bit about who you are? How did you get into this space in real estate? We're talking a little bit here about before the show how this is becoming a more competitive space in real estate because of all the prime markets and people are flocking to these markets. So, why don't you share with us a little bit just how you got started and what was it that really led you into the vacation rental space?
Awesome. Yeah, so I moved here from Israel 18 years ago. I went to school here. I studied economics. When I finished school, I started right away to manage properties. I managed roughly around 300 units, long term, obviously. Back then, it was kind of like neighborhood. So it was buildings, a few buildings. And I saw that I reached a point that from management point of view, I couldn't really move up the ladder in that position. So I did a change. I moved to LA. I lived there for a couple years. I had a few businesses of coffee shops and I closed them. I moved back to Miami to do full-time real estate. I joined a partner that we kind of did everything. We did flips, we did construction, we did management for long term still back then, and also the transactions for the real estate side. So basically, kind of like tasting everything. And we worked a lot with investors for long term, and meaning long term leases. And that also, we used to get them like 8% net after everything. And we saw that when the market kept going up, it was very difficult for us to find 8% returns for investors. And they were kind of looking for the next thing. And I was also looking, what can I do to prevent me kind of like to wait for the last minute. Like I wanted to be ahead of the game. I didn't want to all of the sudden be in a position that I don't know what I'm doing for more income. And back then, that was like 7, maybe 8 years ago. The Airbnb really started building up and becoming known from business perspective. So I kind of separated ways with that partner. We're still partnering in a few deals, but not like working all the time together. And then I joined the place where I'm at now, where it was at the very beginning, and it was solely focused on Airbnb investments. I'm saying Airbnb. Airbnb is obviously it's like vacation rentals because Airbnb is a website at the end. Um, so when Airbnb started, Airbnb was not really a business. It was more for like people who live in their house and they're going on vacation and they're renting their home in the meantime to have some payments coming in. And it was very friendly, let's say. It wasn't like oriented only for business. And recently, I mean, in the last few years, it really became a business. So people just buying homes for vacation rental investments. And also in the last few years, the cities start noticing that it's becoming a business and in the best locations, the good neighborhoods, so many people all of a sudden have vacation rental investments. The neighbors don't like it. So they put a lot of pressures on the counties, the city, the states, and there started to be a lot of regulations. So as a company, we had to be the most professionals in to know everything from A to Z, how to identify the properties, to know obviously the returns, but also how to deal with the cities. And the cities keep, and you adjust every few years because when you start at the beginning and there are no regulations, you can't really think that in a few years there's going to be a regulation, right? It's very hard to know it ahead of time. Now we do. Like now, because we saw that in the last few years there were changes. So now we do think a lot of times of how to protect ourselves in that way as well. But basically, we start getting full board into the vacation rental. And we have, like you mentioned, a lot of properties in Florida. So we are very knowledgeable about numbers and what to look for.
Yeah, so that's very interesting that you brought up the point on regulations, right? Because I know a lot of real estate investors who maybe have focused their strategy specifically on vacation rentals, where they're in a position now, maybe there's regulations coming down on their location, or maybe the cash flow is just not working out for them, right? They're not getting the returns that they want. So is that something that you guys are doing either for your clients or your own properties where you're locating these and identifying these vacation rentals, but you have multiple exit strategies so that way you guys are not tied down when, in the future if a regulation came out where you're not able to do this
Sure.
anymore, or if the returns aren't as great, you still are able to pivot and still be profitable, or just have a different exit strategy.
Yes. So first of all, it's important to know that Florida, some rules that were regulated in the actual state are for Airbnb, meaning the cities cannot just cancel Airbnb. They can give you some regulations in the city to kind of make your life harder, but they cannot cancel it. So that's very important to know. Now, from company point of view, so we don't buy properties in association neighborhoods, even if the association allow Airbnb. So that's a rule that we decided on because if you start in a neighborhood and everything okay for the first year, but the neighbors don't like you, they can change the bylaws. Those things take time, but like you mentioned, we're trying to protect ourselves. We don't want to take that risk. Um, about strategies. So when we first started, we bought a lot of houses, single families in really good locations, and after a while it became saturated in a way, so we had to shift our the way that the company is basically working to different locations. So first of all, in those locations where it was in prime locations, there was a lot of appreciation. So obviously, if after a while, at the very beginning, those houses used to make 17% return to our investors, which is obviously amazing. And it did go down with the years. The returns went down, and but now, if in theory, any investor that wants to sell their property, they're gonna have a really, really nice profit from the appreciation. That's in those locations. We did shift to a different, completely different style. So now we're buying more in suburban areas. We're buying we're buying acre lots properties that the actual living space is around 4 to 5 thousand square foot, and we're doing a kind of like a resort style amenitized home. So in our yard, all the homes come with a pool usually. Some of them come with a tennis court. Tennis court is even becoming a little outdated because now everybody do pickleballs. So we are adding in the properties, we're adding volleyball courts, mini golf, seating areas, picnic areas, soccer that is like synthetic grass soccer field, and we're making it like an experience. So our thought was that when people come on vacation, first of all, those homes can accommodate much more people. So the big families, the big parties, I don't mean about having a party, but the big groups, they all of the sudden have one house that they can all stays in because the 4 or 5 thousand square foot homes, they're usually 7, 8 bedrooms. And we decided to try those homes because at the beginning it was a risk. The thought of buying a vacation rental in an area that is not really a touristic area was a risk at the very beginning. I'm talking about years ago. Now, of course, you have a lot of homes there. And when we took that risk, we really wanted to do something special. Inside the house, we're adding, if possible, it depends on the house, we can have a movie theater, a pool table, ping pong, pretty much everything you can think of, we're putting in the house. And we noticed that those homes have great demand. And the way we protect ourselves, so we're always trying to buy a house a little bit under the market value. We're always renovating it to a high standard because we want it to fit to be like a five-star kind of like resort for vacation. So we're always having it in really top shape. And if we're selling, so adding all the amenities outside and having the house renovated on the inside, it's already making an appreciation to the property. So if we're selling, it's already worth more. It is important to note that furniture for a home like that is usually like $80,000. Furniture is not really something you get back, when you're selling, because they're used after a year. You can maybe get 20, $30,000 for it, but it is a loss in a way. So the appreciation is also covering that expense. So we're really being protected as much as possible. Of course, it depends on the market as well, but that's every real estate transaction. If the market crash, so everything crash, it's not like you can really protect it. But we're also those homes, even if we cannot rent them for vacation rental, the months to months is also very profitable because you do have people with money that are looking for a house for a month, 2 months, 3 months, for many different reasons, and they're willing to pay a lot of money. The prime homes that we have, we charge 30,000 a month for a month to months. So we're really trying to protect from all angles here. And overall, the returns are pretty good.
Yeah, so that's really interesting, right? Because you guys have set it up in a way where you can have it as a vacation rental, but also you can rent it months to month as well, which is important because some people don't have that built in or they can't do that, and then if they're unable to rent it out as a vacation rental, or if it's like an off-peak season, or if the market is not bringing the amount of returns, they're at a point where they're either just breaking even or they're actually taking a loss on the property as well. And that's the biggest risk, I think, with a lot of it, vacation rental investors is, if the market's doing great, and I've seen this with some of people that I actually work with as well, where they have vacation rentals that are doing great, but now they're at a point where it's really just breaking even and they're actually very aggressive in trying to sell it as well. So when you guys are designing these, right, you mentioned you kind of turn it into more of a resort-like feeling, right? Where you're putting in a lot of different amenities like
Yeah.
pickleball
We
courts
we
and
call it destination homes, basically.
destination homes,
Yeah.
right? So when you do that, does that actually help you rent it month to month if you have to do that, or is that does that affect the other market as far as an exit strategy goes?
So definitely it helps us 100% because if someone has kids, for example, or they have a big family or they like to have gatherings in their homes, to have the outside like that, it's a huge plus. I mean, really every house you will go to on the acre lot properties will have usually a pool and at best a tennis court. Nobody has more than that. Like I never seen a house that has more than that, which is usually enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, but the way that you're there in our houses, it really gives you like a great feeling when you're outside, and you don't really have it much in Florida. And also the inside. So, Florida, a lot of times it's very hot, a lot of humidity. So we also have the inside, really the layout is set really nicely for people to stay inside. And we're trying to cover both sides. I did want to mention something very important because the point that you raised with some of your friends that or colleagues that that now are like not making as much money and basically need to sell. So this is super important point for us when we're buying properties. If assuming we're not buying it cash, because some of the properties we're buying cash. If we're buying it with a loan, um, and it's a rule set in stone for us. We're putting 40% down, And then usually with the renovation and everything around it, we're end up being roughly around 50-50 with the loan. This is very important because this is really protecting us from when the market is not as good from vacation rentals, we're still positive cash flow. And we notice, and we do have some investors. So we have kind of like two products. We have the syndications, basically what the company is buying. So that's the 40-50% that I just mentioned. And we do have some clients that they want to buy for themselves and they want us to manage it. We do have some clients that still decide to buy with like 20, 25, usually 25% down, which is usually great. You know, it's a conventional loan, it's a lot of money down. But those homes, after a few years, you could see that they are not making as much money or they're sometimes losing. And that's something that, again, we adjusted. You know, we didn't start like that from day one. The syndication, we did start from day one with the 40%. But with our clients at the beginning, um, now when I'm saying they're not making money after a few years, again, the appreciation, they can sell it, they still making a great profit. So it's not like they're losing money, but we noticed that that's something you need to protect yourself to buy with a much higher LTV.
Right. So basically, what you're doing is not over leveraging
A
yourself.
100%. And it's very easy to leverage. I mean, you know, you're in this business, you know very well. People just want to have more and more homes under their belt, and it's okay. But I know some people that had that with the leverage when the market collapsed and they lost everything and they had to start from scratch. um they had like 5 homes, 6 homes sometimes. Everything was leveraged. The market collapsed, they had to sell everything, and went basically bankrupt. So and it's hard not to, right? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to put money aside for the rainy days." And then you have money aside and you see another great property and you're like, okay, that's like one in a million. Okay, no matter what, I'll buy it. And then again, you're like zero money in the bank. You're leveraging everything. It's not the smartest decision in my mind.
Right, because everybody can ride the wave in a good market, right? But if you over leverage yourself, then in a bad market, you can own too many properties and then, like you said, go bankrupt or start from scratch. So I think what I'm getting at here is, you guys really believe in quality over quantity, right? Because you can have less properties that make more money than somebody who has twice as many properties as you do, but only make about a quarter of what you guys are making on the deals that you guys are a part of.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Again, to be smart about it is the most important thing, I think, to survive. I can tell you that if we would have leveraged everything 20-25%, I think that we would have been in a different place today and not in a good way, I think. And also, I want to mention that in the last few years, you have so many supposedly gurus on YouTube that are teaching you how to get so many homes and be rich, and I think it's the worst because they're really teaching you how to be so leveraged. And it's okay when everything goes when everything appreciate and everything goes great in the market, it's fine and it's gonna work for you. But they're teaching you to put everything that you have and be so leveraged, and then you're gonna ask them, oh, what's gonna happen if the market collapse? And they're gonna smile and say, oh, if the market collapse, I'm gonna buy more. But I'm like, how are you gonna buy more? Everything is in the homes. You have zero money in the bank, and if the money collapse, how will you be able to buy something? Those homes, you're gonna be negative cash flow. You're not gonna have money out of your pocket. You're gonna have to sell. So it's like there's so much like fake information, I feel, or misinformation. And I'm sure that those gurus are very well aware, I'm sure that they know the market very well. They know the numbers much better than me, but it's making my life, well, not really my life difficult, but I have so many friends that come to me and they see those videos and they ask for my opinion, and they, because they're like, "Oh, you can start with 20,000, you can start with this." I'm like, "Not really."
Right. So I think, that's the other question that I have for you, which is, you guys are obviously investing yourselves, right? You have syndications, but you guys, it sounds like, are also helping other investors get into vacation rentals, right, as the real estate agent, and then helping them manage as well. Are you guys working both sides of the
So
business
yeah,
at this
I'll
point?
I'll elaborate about this. We are doing everything A to Z. So there is the brokerage side, and the brokerage side is the one that identifying the properties, do the analysis, the videos, all the planning about the renovation. So that's like the brokerage side. And then we lock in a contract, and then in that contract, we're bringing all the money in basically from different investors, if it's a syndication or from one investor. And then during I'm going to tell you kind of like the whole process. So during the obviously the inspection period, we're doing variable inspections. That's also something that we learned. We're not just doing the regular inspection. Most of the acre lot properties are on septic tanks, so we're doing a specialized septic tank inspection. I can tell you a lot of septic tanks are not in good shape, and that can be pricey. Pool inspections, specific leak detection inspections, because the regular pool inspections are not doing leak detection to the actual pool. They're doing it to the equipment. And of course, the plumbing. So the plumbing, we're actually bringing a camera. We're not just checking that everything goes smoothly. We're running a camera. So we're really trying to get all the information needed. And then right before we close the contract, we're doing a 3D virtual tour to the house, and that basically goes to the design team, so they know exactly, they have all the measurements, everything they need to start ordering all the furniture and equipment and everything to the house. And then the construction team basically go to the house and start the construction after we close the contract. So we're doing the construction plus all the preparation for the outside amenities, and once it's ready, the furniture comes in, and then it goes to we send obviously a photographer, then it goes to the management. So the management, it's like we're all in one group, but it is like separate in a way. So once it goes to the management side, then it's a whole team. We have designated property managers for each location. Then we had the headquarters. We have 24/7 telecommunication people. We have security. We have people checking cameras. We like there are a lot of small like departments within the management. And then eventually, after a few years, when we're going to sell the property, then it's a cycle that goes back to the brokerage, basically. So the brokerage kind of like is the one setting everything in motion, and that's like the cycle. Um, yeah, that's so another very important part, I guess, to say. So the name of the company is DesignedVR. DesignedVR Realty, DesignedVR Management, everything under DesignedVR. DesignedVR at the very beginning was also a software management program that was used for everything that we're doing. We decided after a few years to separate DesignedVR and the software to a different company. The software is now called Boom Now. And Boom Now is now being used all over the world as a software program for vacation rental management. And this software is also what we're using still, but it's kind of like separate entities as well. So there is another entity that is the software side, and each side has a lot of people in it.
Right. So it sounds like you guys have really figured out the entire process, and I mean, you guys are leveraging that as a business, right? For people that want to invest in vacation rentals, they can kind of go to you guys and have that A to Z solution, like you mentioned, which is really, if you think about building a vacation rental portfolio or investing in a vacation rental, that it's a lot more effort that goes into, especially the management side and the furnishing side, than if you were to only keep like a long-term rental as well. And a lot of people don't have that experience, would need that support on their side as well.
So a lot of people when they're thinking about starting, they ask me, kind of like what they need. And I feel that a few years ago the answer would have been very simple. But now, because Airbnb is like 100% business, you have to know all the platforms. You have to know each platform, how much money they're charging for from what you're charging. And there are so many small expenses that are adding up. And because it's a full-time business, so a lot of people that want to do it as a side hustle, you can really do it as a side hustle because I'll give you an example. Let's say you have one day booking that people are checking out and you have the same day check-in. So checkout is at 11 a.m. Check-in will be at 4 p.m. Between that time, you have to make sure that you bring cleaners, which is let's say it's not the hardest part because you do have now companies that are calling themselves, vacation rental cleaning companies. So let's say you find a company, it's fine. But let's say you have a full-time job, it doesn't matter what you do, and you have a checkout that let's say it doesn't move on time. Let's say they want to stay another hour uh, and then your check-in wants early check-in, and let's say it's okay, you don't allow early check-in, but when they do move out you find out that one of the dining tables is broken, for example. You have to replace it before the 4 p.m. comes. Because again, the people that come now, they are expecting a five-star experience, and they're going to complain, and if they complain you're going to have to give them some money back, and it's a lot of headache, and that's obviously a very small um, point that I just brought. But you have so many different variables. So if you have another job, and all of a sudden your cleaner call you and he's like, "Oh, the desk here is broken. What do you want to do?" And you're like, "Well, I'm busy now. You can't do it. You have to have help, or you have to have a job that you're free to deal with that, which is fine. And then if you want to deal with it, even if you have a home, you need to know how to price your property. So again, you have a lot of companies that offer you an algorithm that change with the seasons and stuff like that, but sometimes it's not really going to give you the best return. So everything is okay. You can do it yourself, but to really maximize your profits, you have to really have someone that is knowledgeable about it and have the time to do it. And even if you have the time at the beginning and you don't have the knowledge, your property is not going to do very well. And I think that for people who start and they still want to do it, not as a side hustle, they want to grow into it. So I think then, yes, at the beginning, you have to use someone that has all the knowledge already, and you have to really learn everything in and out, and then maybe start doing it yourself. Let's say you get to a point that you have three homes, so maybe leave two houses to the other side to manage and do one house yourself, see how it is. That's how I will suggest for someone to kind of like grow into it and not just jump into the water because it's very dangerous. I mean, usually you buy homes. The minimum home that we used to buy a few years ago was like the cheapest was like 400,000. Now we, I mean, you cannot find houses anywhere under 1 million that will really be good for vacation rentals. You can find houses, but not good for vacation rentals. We are starting like the cheapest now is like 1.3 million, the cheapest, like for new homes. So you're putting down so much money, and if you're new to the business, you will not survive if you're losing. So unless you have a lot of money saved aside and you want to try it, and it's fine. So I will definitely recommend for people to start with someone that is knowledgeable.
Absolutely agree. I think I've actually heard of some people who clean their own Airbnbs or their own vacation rentals as well, and it just, it doesn't make a lot of sense as far as the amount of time you have to put into it. because, if something comes up, right, if you have another job, then what are you going to do at that point? It's you're
Right.
working two jobs at that point. So it doesn't make any sense for them to maintain that for a long time. So I think, something else I really wanted to have you talk about now, especially after going over kind of what you guys do, is just the benefits of investing in vacation rentals, right? So there's a lot of different niches and ways that people can go in real estate, especially in investing, right? There's apartment complexes, mobile home parks, storage complexes, commercial real estate, just regular old, long-term rentals. So what is it that is keeping you guys still focused on the vacation rentals niche? And also, what are some of the benefits that people may not have noticed or may not know about investing in vacation rentals as a business?
Sure. So, first of all, when you go to all the different segments that you mentioned, if you're going to go to the best in each field, I'm sure as an investor, you can find great deals like warehouses, stuff like that. I know a little bit of each. So I can tell you in warehouses right now, generally it's a great business. It's almost impossible to buy new warehouses locations in Florida that are bringing you returns. It's just very difficult to find them. Now, in real estate, like I mentioned, I started from long-term investments for clients. It's impossible now to buy and make more than 7% if you're doing a really good purchase. And usually, even the 7 to 10% that maybe you can do in long term investments will be in really bad areas. So you can probably find a bad area, have like a Section 8 tenant, and do good return. But us as a company, we're looking at also the appreciation. We want to buy at like a B plus areas. We don't want to get into the C, um, market. And I think that's super important. Like some people are okay with getting just a percentage. They don't care about anything else. But I think that if you're really doing real estate and you call yourself a real estate business person, you want to buy properties in decent locations. And in those locations, it's very hard to do returns on long term. Now let's get into multifamily and also hotel industry. So I manage buildings. I have still partners who buy buildings. Uh, my partners who buy buildings, they're doing great returns, but they're so big right now that the top brokers in Florida are giving them deals before they even hit the market. And that's how it works. Basically, the the stuff that really gets to the market is the stuff that the top people didn't buy, and it's very difficult to find stuff that makes more than 6% in multifamily. Hotel industry, um very difficult. I've been we have a few hotels as well. It's very difficult to find new hotels. I'm looking all the time that will bring you the same return that the single families are generating. So the vacation rental is still making better than all those segments that I mentioned. Now, again, if you're looking at office space or warehouses, so that's not really our niche. Once you really specialize in something, you don't want to jump to something else because it's a whole different animal. We already have so much experience, and it's not just the experience, the fact that we have the software that I mentioned, Boom Now, it gives you a lot of knowledge in all over the world, basically. So right now, I can go to Portugal, Italy, Israel, Africa. I can go to Greece. I can go to so many different countries, and I can tell you not in all the country, but specific areas in the country. I can tell you what vacation rental investment does. So if let's say I know that Portugal is, I'm not saying it is, but let's say Portugal is making 12%, let's say Africa is making 16%, and let's say Greece is making 8%, then we have you have to bring also into consideration the local coin, the how stable it is. Like there are a lot of different variables. But then as a company, we're like, okay, let's say Florida right now is a very difficult market this time to buy more properties. It might change. So in the meantime, what are we going to do with our money? Okay, let's go to maybe this country. I'm going to buy, that's more like personally, but it is related to this segment. I'm going to close on a hotel in Zanzibar, Africa, next week. I've been working on it for a very long time. So those are things that, like, you're using a lot of knowledge, a lot of tools, a lot of connections. So as a company, that's what we're good at. So we have no reason to jump to something else.
Right. So I think, what I'm getting here is just when you're good at something, when you have the experience, you could potentially make good returns regardless of which niche you're in. So you guys have obviously mastered the vacation rental space. And it's really interesting that you guys, are leveraging your software the way you are in order to essentially gather data from all of these different vacation
That's the
rental
main goal.
markets, right, around the world, and then figuring out which are the best opportunities to invest in. Is that what you guys are doing now currently for your investors as well, and not just locally in Florida, but also in all of these different vacation rental markets in the world?
No, so in the world, we're not really the management. We're just the software providers. But the end goal is for Design VR eventually to start allocating money to distribute basically to different locations. So that's more like a so if you're really looking seriously into any business, you have to have short-term goals. You have to have the immediate the goals and then the long-term goals. So that's more like a 7 years plan, basically. And it sounds maybe a lot, but honestly, 7 years going very fast. And I think if you really want to be the best, you have to make that plan. Now, I'm not relying on that plan to be successful, right? But it is a plan that you're building yourself to. It might change, so now you have goals for 7 years. It might change in a year, 2 years, 3 years. It might change, but you still need to have goals, and those goals keep changing, and you make them bigger and bigger as you go closer to the time. So we're not really using it now, but it's definitely a goal. But right now in Florida, we have a lot of information. So right now, if I want to go to a market, I see a house that came on the market, I will know very fast the exact return that it should generate. I can tell you probably in any location in Florida that you want, give me a house, and probably in 10 minutes I'll tell you a rough number what it does, but the rough number is pretty accurate.
Right. So that's really interesting, right? So now you have the 7-year goal, and it looks like from what you're doing with your software provider is you're able to continue running that side of the business for people that want to invest in these other markets, but you're also in the process, you can correct me if I'm wrong, gathering data on these markets that can be used later for yourself and your own investments.
So the software has two goals. I mean, the main goal is they're generating money from people who are paying them to use the software. So that's like the main goal. But the second goal, which at the moment it's a more like minor goal, is exactly what you said. Like we do have that information. I can log into the program all over the world and see each location what it does. So at the end, you have to, if you really want to grow, you have to think globally, and you have to really see, okay, I have tools. How can I use them to grow?
Exactly. So that's a really good idea, actually. I think not a lot of people might have caught on to that, but that's a very interesting use of an existing business to then help build the foundation for the expansion of your business into the future. So it's a very good way to think about things. Well, Alon, I just want to thank you for being with us here today and
I
sharing your
appreciate it.
experience and your knowledge. And I'd love for you to be able to share a little bit about what you guys are doing, and for anybody who is out there that's listening or watching this, that want to get a hold of you, that want to learn more about vacation rentals or maybe your software that you guys are providing, what are some of the best ways for people to reach out to you or to learn more about what is it that you guys do?
Yeah. Well, to contact us, it's DesignedVR Realty, and you can check it on Facebook, on Instagram. My personal Instagram, the personal business Instagram is Orbach Realty, and the software is Boom Now. So boomnow.com will show you the software, and I'll share with you the link so it's easier to see. And the other question was about what we doing next, I guess, or
Yeah, just how can people get a hold of you so that way they know about what you guys are doing, and how are you guys able to help those who are listening to this show right now?
okay. So from contact, yeah, that's what I just said. How we can help. So specifically in Florida right now, if someone is looking to invest, we do have some programs, and it can start at like 150K investment, and that grows into basically the fund that I mentioned. And we're focusing, as I said, in the in the amenitized homes, and that's what we're looking like. That kind of like became really our specialized investment program, that we see that it's the most lucrative investment. It brings you the most return, and we're really good at it. Like we have in-house people that build all the courts and everything. So it's very unique product. Not a lot of people do it. It's not cheap to do it. That's why it's very unique as well. And that's what we're gonna keep growing. So if right now we're going to a different market, I mentioned to you before, I'm flying next months to Texas to look at some options. So we're really looking to copy the same model basically. So we want to find the acre lots in Texas that are going to work for us, of course, and do all the amenities and everything. And that's pretty much what we're looking to do in the next couple years, until again maybe things will change. And how to contact, so I'll share all the links with you.
Awesome. We'll make sure to leave all the links in the description down below so that way people can find this easily. But Alon, man, appreciate you being here today. Before we let you go, is there any last pieces of advice or any last tips you want to leave with the audience here?
So if you want to start in a different location, let's say it's not related to here, Florida, anywhere in the world, I will suggest to find, you can call it a mentor, you can call it someone who is really knowledgeable. Don't think that you can just start and know everything. Really do the homework. I mean, me personally, before I get into a new investment, I do a lot of legwork, and it takes time. So don't rush, because people, if right now I'm telling you that whatever location, let's say a location you never heard of, it doesn't matter where. Let's say I'm telling you, oh, in Colorado there are investments now that you can buy for 250 and make 15% return. You're gonna be, oh, okay, it's amazing. Take my money. I'm like, if I'm telling you this now, it doesn't mean that it just became an opportunity. It might have been this opportunity for like 5, 6 years. It's not like something happened and you feel, oh, if I'm not gonna do it right away, it's gonna disappear. So I really take your time, be patient, don't rush into stuff, and do your homework.
That's actually really, really good advice for anybody out there looking to get into new niche or new investment. So, Alon, man, appreciate you being here
Yeah,
today.
Kobe, thanks you so much.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care.